Lowry Theatre, put your hands together for the one, the only, Mr. Frankie Boyer!
How are we doing so far? This show is mostly about politics. I think a real problem is capitalism. It's billionaires, it's the 1%. These are sick fucking people. Elon Musk is a horrendous human being, even by South African standards. They'll have to go up to space now. Richard Branson, he went up to space. He said, I'm just doing this to help humanity. I just really want to help the human race. If you really want to help the human race, Richard, blow your fucking head off. Not even joking, tuck a shotgun under your sun-dried BG face. Because the only way anyone wants to see you achieve weightlessness is through a particularly aggressive form of cancer. It's funny because it's true. A few people unnerved by the early mention of cancer. You've bought the wrong ticket. This is a cancer-heavy, some would say cancer-themed, 65 minutes. Jeff Bezos, he went out to space with his brother, and I didn't want them to die exactly. What I wanted to happen was for the force of takeoff to make the straps that were holding them down cut into them both and castrate them. So that when they got to zero gravity, their cocks would start bobbing about in the compartment and go into each other's mouths. I didn't want them to die. I wanted them to get safely back to Earth and for it to be weird forever. Capitalism doesn't work. Luxuries aren't a thing you're supposed to have. Luxuries are just supposed to be desired. If you ever get a luxury, it's always disappointing. I can remember when I was wee, my idea of luxury was oysters. That's what rich people ate in movies when I was a kid. So I first had some money, I thought, fuck it, try the oysters. Don't know if you've ever had oysters, but if you enjoy licking cum off the back of a tortoise, if your favourite texture is a corpse's clitoris, rich people aren't happy. Simon Cowell had a facelift that makes him look like George Michael being suffocated with cling film. What do these people ask their plastic surgeons for? I want dogs to bark at me in the street. I don't want to be able to open my own iPhone. So I've been trying to get fitter. Not fit, exactly, I just want to look a bit less like I put gravy on my fucking cereal. So I started getting into Zoom yoga, and Zoom yoga has its risks. I don't know if you've ever coughed to try and cover a fart, but it's possible to get your timing wrong, and it's like you've cleared your throat to announce a fart. I'm 51 now, 51. When I ejaculate, it's like a party popper from a flood-damaged pound shop. Do you know what is with getting old? That thing when really old people get like brown spots in their skin. Imagine that, you look down at yourself and you go, fucking hell, if I was a banana, they'd throw me away. I can still remember when I found my first grey pubic hair. It was stuck between my teeth. I was 8 years old, and I'd stayed up late that night to try to meet Santa. There you go, it looked like this one horrible joke about sexual abuse, but then what? Maybe Santa's real. A little bit of magic for everybody. Would you get that from Ricky Gervais? Would you fuck? Got nothing against Ricky Gervais, I've got nothing against Ricky Gervais fans. If you are one, stupid people need to laugh too. And let's be honest, if someone put a gun in your head and says, do you want to watch a stand-up show by Michael McIntyre or a stand-up show by Ricky Gervais, I think we all know what we'd choose. Death. So I'm 51. and I'm single. If you're a woman, consider dating a 51-year-old man. Think of the thrill of going out with someone who doesn't have the strength to cheat on you. I've had 2 dates in the last 4 years. The first one was right at the start of the first lockdown. I was talking to a woman online. She was really beautiful. She seemed to be really funny. And she said, "It's good you're talking to me, because a lot of guys just block me." And that was a bit of a red flag. So I had a wee Zoom date so I could work out what the problem was. And it turned out the problem was that she was a Nazi. She was an actual Nazi. And because it was the start of the first lockdown, there was a big part of me that thought, there might not be a society left to judge me. Can I get away with this? Can I lock myself away with this beautiful Nazi for some crisis sex? Let's roleplay, I'll be Poland, let's fucking do this. I just couldn't do it. Also, it turned out she wasn't that funny. And a lot of the times I thought she was being funny, she was actually being serious. And it kind of made me wonder, what if Hitler was just being ironic? But nobody around him really got it because they were all Germans. My other date was with a friend of mine. She'd always had terrible taste in men, and it kind of gave me hope. We went to her work's Christmas night out, that was the date. And they're all lovely people, they all worked in and around the Labour Party in some way. And it went well, the party side of things, because I've got better at small talk over the years. I realise now that you kind of need small talk. You can't get through life with just big talk. Hi, it's nice to meet you. My uncle has leukemia. So, it all went fine. And then at the end of the night, they decided to play a parlour game. The game was, which one person would you fuck, and which one person would you kill from the previous year? The guy in front of me said he would fuck AOC, the American politician, Ocasio-Cortez, and he said, and I would kill fucking Philip Schofield. And he got really, really worked up about this. And I don't know if you remember, but the last general election, Philip Schofield gave a very harsh interview to Jeremy Corbyn. Then about a week later, he gave a very softball interview to Boris Johnson. Well, this guy remembered it. And he brought some real tension into the room. And I was next, and I said, well, in that case, I suppose I would kill Holly Willoughby and fuck the body. So I'm still single. And it was a joke! It was a joke! Obviously I'd fuck her then, kill her, I'm not a monster! That was a joke, that was also a joke! In reality I'd wank on her curtains and kill myself. And what I thought would be an interesting thing to do in this show, and on this tour, is to ask whether that's a joke I should be doing in the year 2024. I can see it from both sides. I'm going to unpack the whole thing at some length, don't you fucking worry. By the way, before we get into it, I've been doing this tour now for 18 months. And in the course of that time, Philip Schofield's reputation has been on a fucking roller coaster. Strange guy, barged his way to the front of the queue to see the Queen's coffin. Felt he had to barge his way to the front of that queue, and yet was incredibly patient at waiting for that wee guy to turn 18. So, let's have a look at that Holly Willoughby joke. Before we do that, actually, let's remember a couple of things about jokes. Let's remember people get into comedy for all kinds of different reasons. I was doing a show at Christmas there. I said, why'd you get into stand-up? And he went, do you know what? I always just wanted to put a smile on people's faces. And that had genuinely never occurred to me. I was always much more a let's wipe the smile off their fucking faces. Let's remember as well, people like to laugh at different things. I can't write jokes for the average person. The average person is Chinese. So let's have a wee look at that joke, right? There's part of me thinks, yeah, I can joke about that, and I can joke about anything, because jokes are fiction, and fiction isn't really supposed to bear very much weight, is it? Do you ever watch a movie where they're trying to hack into a computer, they're trying to guess the password, and they look around the room and they go, oh, he likes ancient Egypt, pharaohs, I'm in. I can't guess my own fucking password. Your password is weak, it's going to have to be weak. I am weak. I think if you don't like a joke, you can judge the joke. You can judge the person for telling the joke. You paid to see the joke. Feel how you like about it. All I'm saying is I think we should remember sometimes there's a difference between someone without power saying something, which is what most stand-up is most of the time, and someone with power doing something. And nowadays, because they all trend in the same sidebars, we start to give them a similar kind of a weight. Now you might say, well, you have power. That's true, I have a certain amount of power. The amount of power I have is not quite enough to get on Richard Osman's House of Games. Even though it's filmed in Glasgow, really quite close to my house. And I did ask. And with wee power comes wee responsibility. Look at someone with power doing something. Look at someone like the British Home Secretary. Home Secretary is a job we give in Britain to the worst person that we can find in the fucking country to persecute refugees. We always pick the only person in the country who can achieve orgasm by imagining a slow puncture at sea. For years it was Priti Patel, and then it was Sheila Bravman, who's even worse. Sheila Bravman's attitude to people crossing the channel made Priti Patel look like fucking Moses. Priti Patel was the sort of person who could watch refugee footage and go, fucking hell, my nipples are so hard. I could bust that dinghy myself. Whereas Sheila Bravman would be more like, I could squirt enough to drown the survivors. Doesn't even make sense to turn those boats back. Welcome those people onto the shore and ask them, can they drive a truck? Because Britain is in the middle of a trucking crisis that we will never solve until we release our serial killers. People say we need to attract truck drivers from Europe. We don't. We need to attract hitchhikers. The truck drivers will follow. Some fucking interesting coughs down around in Salford, aren't there? I'm going to go home and fucking Google Salford variant. What is this? You don't really seem to have that putting a hand over your mouth thing here either. Sounds more like one hand on each knee for extra leverage. That guy up there that's been coughing, I don't want to alarm you, but my uncle had that exact same cough. And he died from cancer. Tell you what he didn't do though, didn't go out at night and ruin other people's entertainment. Sound man, if you're listening, the guy in the sound desk, could you turn the volume up just a wee bit so I can go over the waves of fucking COVID and death? That might help, I think. Priti Patel, before she left, she brought in a new law. It's now a mandatory life sentence if you kill a policeman while he's on duty. What if I'm trying to stop a rape? Am I supposed to wait until he's finished his shift? I like this thing the Met do now. They go, we were totally shocked to learn about the behaviour of our colleague, who we had nicknamed Dave, the serial rapist. Sheila Bravman's getting done for speeding it, and I'm conflicted because I want her speeding. I want her travelling at 200 miles an hour at all times. Let's get a fucking ramp involved. I want her heading into a Hot Wheels loop, travelling at Mach 3 on the back of a motorcycle being driven by fucking Ant McPartlin. So look, there's part of me that thinks, yeah, I can joke about these subjects, and even like those couple of jokes about the Met, they can be political jokes, they can be jokes that are worth telling, But then another part of me thinks no. Another part of me thinks no. I only think that because I'm a part of toxic masculinity. I grew up in toxic masculinity and I can't see it from the outside. I grew up in Glasgow in the 1970s. I can remember when they brought out the Yorkie bar. You had to bring out a special chocolate bar that men felt comfortable buying. Because there was guys wandering about going, I'd love a dairy milk, but I'm worried that it's a bit poofy. I had a really good pal growing up who never came out. This guy never came out. His dad was a religious conservative type. Now, this is easy for me to say, but I like to think that I would at least take pleasure in telling my dad that I was going to end his genetic line, that I was going to take millennia of refinements to his DNA and blast them into the barren soil of a barista's arsehole. Because we grew up like that, any time I see a win for the gay community, it always lifts my heart. There was a great thing last year. DC Comics brought out a gay Superman. And I love Superman. I love the idea of a gay Superman. I love the idea of being gay with Superman. He could use his X-ray vision to watch his cock moving inside me. I always find that the more uncomfortable the audience are with the idea of the gay Superman, the more gay stuff Superman will do in this routine. For the record, Salford, that is the most uncomfortable the audience has ever been with the gay Superman by quite a distance. No one else has ever taken it half as badly as you just did. I wonder how low he can set his laser eyes. Because he could use it to warm my arsehole up. Just pressing it either side of the anus like two warm thumbs. I wouldn't like to get a blowjob off Superman because he might suck me inside out. Did you come? No, that's my spine! At the same time, you wouldn't want to give Superman a blowjob. Because when he comes, it might be like the fucking Kennedy assassination. When I was a wee boy growing up in Glasgow, I thought I saw a superhero one day. Turned out it was just a depressed clown throwing himself off a tower block. Who odd? It didn't really fucking happen! So look, it's a toxic masculine society. I was trying to think for this show, is there an advantage women have over men in this society? The best I could come up with is this. A woman can tell a funny story about taking a vibrator on holiday. A woman can tell an anecdote, oh, my vibrator fell out of the bag at customs. We'll all be charmed. Whereas if a man tells a story about how he spent 2 weeks in a hotel room plunging into an artificial vagina, it can only serve as the grimmest of red flags. So look, if we're looking for an answer to that question, should I be doing that joke about Holly Willoughby? I don't think it's a very satisfying answer. I think the answer is probably it's okay in this context. It's okay if I use it as a springboard to talk about some more interesting things. I wouldn't just do it out of context. And the reason I wouldn't just do it, it's not clear enough to me who the target is in that joke. It's supposed to be a joke about me. I don't think everybody takes it that way. Maybe if you can be cavalier with a joke, it just has to be about somebody worse. If that was about Harvey Weinstein, we wouldn't be fucking arguing about it, would we? Harvey Weinstein just gets 16 years added onto his sentence. He was back in court. His defence this time was, it was all consensual. I think the jury had one look at Harvey Weinstein and went, nah. He came into court in a walking frame. He was trying to get sympathy and it backfired. It just looked like his hips were knackered from all the raping. So that Holly Willoughby bit, that got misquoted in the newspapers, a wee bit of scandal. That kind of thing happens all the time. There's another thing that happens to me much more rarely, and I've learned to enjoy it. Very occasionally, you do a joke and you immediately think, no, I shouldn't have said that. I'm going to get some fucking trouble for saying that. And then nobody notices. You get away with it. That happened to me recently. I did a TV show called The Last Leg. The Last Leg is on Channel 4 on a Friday night, and it goes out live. They're a lovely bunch of people. They give you a heads up on some of the questions. They said, the only question we're definitely going to ask you is, what's next for Boris Johnson? Because Boris Johnson had just stood down as an MP that week. And I forget what I'd planned to say, because it's live TV, so you just get totally thrown. And the host asked me in this light, breezy way, I think it was the first question, he sort of spun round in his chair and went, so Frankie, what's next for Boris then? And for some reason I found myself going, I hope he dies soon. Boris Johnson, like someone injected Hitler's DNA into a panna cotta. He was always slightly hunched over, wasn't he? From a lifetime of being crammed into married women's wardrobes. Do you reckon Boris Johnson has a loyalty card for his local abortionist? Look, I don't want to pressure you, love, but if it's twins, I could get a toaster. Fucked COVID, couldn't have done any worse with COVID. The first thing he did was to catch COVID himself. He said contingency plans were made for my death. That's true, I'd bought fireworks. I made Liz Truss, a woman who looks like she masturbates to pictures of new build houses. She always had that look in her head, the wheels spinning but the hamster's dead. And what's his name? Kwasi Kwarteng, a sort of Sith version of Howard from the Halifax ads. Now it's Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak is actually quite far to the right of Boris Johnson. It's actually got worse. It's like we've tunnelled our way out of R. Kelly's house and emerged in Prince Andrew's basement. Rishi Sunak is too wee. It's fucking weird to me how wee that guy is. It might not be too late to abort him. He can't give any speeches at night in case he gets taken by an owl. That's the Prime Minister. A guy who'd lose a cage fight to Mary Berry. Why is he so wee? Why is he so fucking wee? They've never explained it. I have two theories. One is he plays some kind of role in the Conservative Party's satanic ceremonies, where he has to climb up a demon's urethra like a little chimney sweep. Or maybe he's symbolic on an occult level, and as Britain becomes weaker and more fucked up, we need this wee fucked up looking guy to represent us. And maybe it's the same with America. Joe Biden is like a laptop that's on 4%. His skin is practically translucent. It's like a fucking Vietnamese spring roll. I actually think Joe Biden's done alright for someone who doesn't know he's president. Do you see him in that St. Patrick's Day thing? He is fucked. I didn't realise it was possible to limp with both legs. It's going to be Donald Trump again, isn't it? Fucking Donald Trump. A quaver balanced on top of a what's-it. The whole world's getting more right-wing, isn't it? We saw Qatar in the World Cup. The last time football was played on top of that many corpses, it was the Christmas Day truce in World War I. But don't joke about World War I too soon. The FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, gave that famous speech at the start of the World Cup. He said, "Today I feel gay, today I feel disabled." I can sort of relate to that. There are days when I feel gay, but it's usually the day after that I feel disabled. And then the hypocrisy of it, they didn't let Harry Kane wear his rainbow armband. To be fair to Harry Kane, he still did his bit for gay rights by talking as if he had a cock in his mouth. I'm going to score a goal for England with a big old cock in my mouth. Never expect too much of footballers. They're not the brightest guys in the world, are they? LGBTQ is just Harry Kane trying to remember the alphabet. I think Gary Lineker's a good guy. Gary Lineker, he said some stuff about Israel-Palestine. A lot of people have chosen not to. Good for him. Said some stuff about refugees in the past. Seems like a decent human being. But does anyone else worry that we now have to look to footballers for decency? When did footballers of all people become the fucking good guys? Nowadays when you read that Premiership players were involved in a spit roast, it's a community cooking initiative. And all I'm saying is, maybe you get more of that celebrity opposition, symbolic opposition, as the real opposition that's supposed to be there in a democracy for it to function, kind of dies away. So the real opposition at the minute is supposed to be Keir Starmer, who's sort of like the picture that's in the frame when you buy it. Keir Starmer tried to go on Who Do You Think You Are, but nobody knew who he was. See, if you're in politics, you don't have a personality, fucking make something up then! Put a parrot on your shoulder, smoke a pipe, tell us that you're double jointed, give us something to fucking work with. Do you know, he's like, do you remember once a month somebody come on Ready Steady Cook and they'd tip their bag out and they go, there you go, 5 onions and a can of Fanta. Make something with that. A souffle, perhaps. Keir Starmer is that without the Fanta. He's always got two stories, doesn't he? One is, my dad was a tool maker. Of course he was, he fucking made you, didn't he? Then he'll say, my dad used to go out to work from 8 AM till 5 PM. He'd come home, he'd have his dinner, he'd go back out and he'd work again from 6 until 10 o'clock at night. Now that to me sounds like quite an unusual shift pattern. I wonder when it'll occur to Keir Starmer that his dad was going to the pub. My father was often so exhausted, he'd stagger home and piss in my wardrobe. Britain's fucked, isn't it? It's fucking done for, it's over. This place. Basically, if Britain was your pet dog, round about now you'd be telling your kids that the operation it needs costs exactly the same as a PlayStation 5. There was a charity report last month said the cost of living crisis is going to force children to take up drug dealing, which I personally welcome due to their poor negotiating skills. There was another report that said social care for the elderly in this country is now a lottery. Then again, old people, they love a lottery, don't they? Maybe if you get a bingo caller to give them their diagnosis, they might start to look forward to it. Legs 11, you're off to heaven. On its own, your husband in a fortnight. It's an energy price crisis. Things are getting so bad I can barely afford to heat my basement. And let me tell you, there's nothing sadder than a shivering gimp. Public services are getting wiped out. Things like the ambulance service now just disappearing. Nowadays your best hope of getting to hospital is phoning Deliveroo, then collapsing on your doorstep dressed as a lambooner. We should want people in caring jobs paid properly. It's reassuring when people like doctors and nurses are getting paid properly. Of all the ways that I want my prostate examined, resentfully, is quite far down the list. Are you sure you need to form a fist? That's quite a run-up you're taking. Sometimes you get to keep his wristwatch, so he swings him round the way. Look, stop on it. it didn't happen. Okay? A fucking clown didn't jump off a high-rise building. I don't really have a gimp in my house, he's dead now. Fucking... accept that this is fiction. People say you can't get a GP's appointment anymore, and you can. You just need to tell them you have something they'd be interested in seeing. There's something growing under my arm and it looks like a beak. I've been feeding it seeds, but it says it wants meat. They'll get you in to satisfy their curiosity. The best time to go to the doctor was the Victorian era, when they'd either give you cocaine, wank you off, or send you to the seaside. There are not too many comedians doing jokes about Victorian medical history. Last of a dying breed. I've been talking to people a wee bit as I wander about in the tour, which I'm loath to do tonight, literally because I think at the moment I stop shouting material, it'll kind of be drowned out by coughing and what sounds like people opening cans. Do you all have about 8 cans with you? Because that's all I can hear. Yeah. Great, well, you know, brilliant. Would you want to just open them all in a winner? And we'll maybe have a coughing break? We'll do a wee bit of a chat to the crowd and then we'll fucking get back on with it. Okay, coughing, open your cans, everybody. Great, there we go. I feel we got somewhere, and that won't stop the coughing or can opening. Yeah, it's alright comedy, but you know, I'm not fucking addicted to it like I am lager. I apologise for my fucking weak attempt at your accent, but at least I fucking tried. What I've been doing, I've been chatting to people as I've been wandering about. I only chat to people who look like they want to talk, mate. You look like you're fucking defending a free kick. Relax. We have a gentle talk to folk, and then if I remember, I'm going to do a new bit I've got about trying to explain Scotland to people. So what have we got? Actually, you seem like the friendliest fucker down here. What's your story? You from Salford? You from Manchester? Where you from? Stockport? I'd forgotten Stockport. I thought this kind of was Stockport. I got confused. What's the difference? About 12 miles. There you go. Fucking poor northwestern cunts down the front here. What's your story, man? What do you do in Stockport? Solar energy. There you go, that's a fucking good thing. I've been doing too many gigs in London where they're all just fucking evil bastards. Like, well, you get a fucking free pass. What about you, man? What's your story? Where you from? Manchester. What do you do? IT. That's dull, isn't it? We got someone we couldn't really take the piss out of, and then someone who's just probably going to kill himself on the way home. What type of IT? Is there any excitement to it at all? No? Okay, thanks. What's your hobbies? Maybe we'll get something there. What do you do to entertain yourself? Nothing. Okay. Have you been in trouble with the police recently or something? Just relax, man. Give me something. What did you do last weekend? Look, I'm not holding a seance to contact a cunt. I'm trying to talk to this guy enough that he tells me something and I make a joke about how it's a stupid fucking thing. I hope that doesn't ruin the magic for anybody, right? But we really don't need you on board. If you want to contribute to the show, jump. I'm determined, man. I know I'm heading down a fucking dead end. The skeletons of other comedians are warning me to turn back. But what the fuck are your hobbies? What do you do to amuse yourself? You can't say nothing. It can't just be IT and nothing. You wake up, you have breakfast, you go to your job, you come back. What then? What happens then? You like swimming? There we go. That was about the dullest fucking hobby you could have had, I think. And are you a wild swimmer? Yes, of course you are. You're out there fucking gobbling mouthfuls of cocaine-filled shit. That's your That's your fucking hobby. There's a darkness here somewhere. We know it. Wild swimming. Where's good for wild swimming around here? Cheshire. You drive to Cheshire, take your clothes off, and jump in a polluted river. I wish I'd never found out now. Do you know that? We've got to have better than this. What about you, the red jacket? Are you dying or something? Could you get a fucking ambulance out of here? Holy shit, man. I don't think we're all making it out of this gig alive. Maybe in a couple of weeks' time we're not all going to be here. Let's have a few fucking laughs now. What's your story, man? You don't look English? Are you English? Yeah? Where are you from? Bolton. Okay. Weirdly, some fans of Bolton. This is one of the few bits of England where you don't fucking hate everyone 10 miles away. Do you know what I mean? You hate Liverpool based on a fucking shipping rivalry from the Victorian era. Slightly different. What'd you do, man? You have no idea either. Okay. Take it away. I mean, you could just fucking make something up. Homeless prevention. Fucking hell. I'm about 3 questions away from ending up on the fucking front pages here. I find anyway, right, I find it harder to do audience work these days is I become aware how stupid my job is. I was talking to my pal yesterday and we worked out between us we'd done gigs to 12 dogs. Right? Because if you think of it, it's not that unusual for someone to have a guide dog. And one time, 2 rows in, I was doing a show in Dundee, 2 rows in, there was a Labrador. I said to the guy, is that your dog? Is that your guide dog? And he went, no, it's just a dog. And I said, well, should you have brought him into the theatre then? And he went, I've bought it a ticket. Now, you might have read this somewhere, and it's true, but as comedians, we're kind of drawn to the face that's laughing least, right? Tonight it's you. We're subconsciously trying to bring everybody on board. So I did 50 minutes to this fucking Labrador. His tail didn't wag once. The only real job I had, I worked in mental health, I worked in an asylum. They told me I was working there. It was in Haverty, and they were like very old people who were schizophrenics. And we moved them into the community. They had great fucking lives, it was a great job. But I had this client, she was about 65, and one day, we're going for lunch. He said, Frankie, someone might look over at us at lunch and think I'm your mum. And then last week, we went out for dinner, we talked about all kinds of different things. What is schizophrenia, really? I said, yeah, but yesterday you said that Hitler was travelling through time to try and steal your liver. Try and get swings and roundabouts. Oh yeah, I was going to explain Scotland. I think the key to understanding Scotland is everything is different. Language is different. In Glasgow, the word entrepreneur means someone who'll kill your ex for 80 quid. And then I remember this story for explaining. This happened to me last summer, and I think if you can understand this story, you can understand Glasgow. I went to get my eyes tested at the optician, and she said, your eyesight has deteriorated quite a bit, but I wouldn't worry about it. I said, why not? She went, because I'm not you. I started in clubs in Glasgow, that was rough, man. I remember one of my first ever gigs, I went into the club, there was a guy on stage, he was dying, he was having a terrible time, and he kind of lost his temper, and he went, what the fuck do you expect for a £5? And someone went, change. Nicola Sturgeon was in. I think Nicola Sturgeon did well in Scotland, because she looked like a typical Scottish woman. She looked like a fire alarm had gone off halfway through her haircut. And we could relate. And then all the people that stood to replace her were kind of depressing. One of them was against gay marriage, which doesn't make any sense to me. The national dress of Scotland is a man in a skirt sucking on a bag of cocks. I think Scotland's getting increasingly conservative. So there's a scandal because they were allegedly teaching anal sex as part of the sex education programme in Scottish schools. I think they should teach anal sex in Scottish schools, because in my experience, a lot of the teachers are doing it wrong. Even the independence movement has this kind of reactionary side to it now. So it's a big scandal because an SNP MP took a drag queen to read a story in a school. People are like, this is terrible. A drag queen reading a story in a school. Our school had a fucking priest in it. An actual paedophile wizard. That's why bishops and popes had those big hats. It was for catching kids, got it. That's why the priest had that incense stuff he'd swing around. It was so he could create a fog that he could emerge from. You'd smell that at school and everyone would scatter. Where's Greg? I don't know. The last I saw he was being raped by a cloud. I grew up Catholic. My favourite Bible story was always Abraham and Isaac. God said to Abraham to sacrifice his son, Isaac. So Abraham takes the boy by the hand, leads him out till he's built an altar. He's chopped up some logs to build this altar, puts the boy in the altar, goes to bring his knife down on his own son. And just as he does it, God shouts out, "Stop! I've come." Maybe I'll try and lighten things up a wee bit. I had to get off Twitter recently because of death threats. Lorraine Kelly just didn't seem to be reading them anymore. And I actually got off there for a while because I find there's jokes you can't do on there anymore, and maybe shouldn't do on there. Maybe they're more for places like this. I found this the day that Sean Connery died. I was one of the first people to read the news because I'm quite early in the morning. I thought I'd tweet him. They've shaken him and he's not stirred. Who needs that grief? I got a bit of grief one time. I did a joke about newspapers going out of business, and a lot of journalists get very annoyed with this. They said this is hypocritical because you have worked for newspapers in the past. That to me is the most middle class fucking attitude. The idea that because you work for something, you must like it. I come from a working class background. Imagine if you work somewhere, you want it to burn to the fucking ground. And for everyone one pay grade above you to die in the fire. Working class people need to start being more honest in job interviews. And when they go, where do you see yourself ideally in 5 years' time? Standing in the ruins of this building, pissing on your burning skull. All I'm saying is, right, the cleaners in the Twin Towers, when they saw those planes coming towards them, must have had kind of mixed feelings. Going to get some shit for that one eventually. My auntie actually worked in the fucking auntie! I've mellowed a lot over the years. A bit like AIDS. But people are still surprised when they make me off. They're like, oh, you're very different. Of course I am. It's an act. It's called an act. What do people think was happening with Lee Evans when he'd run on and start falling all over the place? Did they think he had fucking multiple sclerosis or something? Maybe Peter Kay kept asking us if we remembered stuff because he had Alzheimer's. Do you remember tapping top 10 off radio? Because I don't anymore and I'm scared. That's my favourite bit of the show, by the way. So much so that I've never bothered getting the impression even vaguely correct. Peter Kay unable to access his own nostalgic memories due to the horrors of incipient dementia. That's what gets me out of fucking bed in the morning. The real dividing line in Britain is class. Class. That's why you get people like Jacob Rees-Mogg. Jacob Rees-Mogg is one of those Tories who doesn't know the price of milk because he still gets it straight from his nanny's nipples. Jacob Rees-Mogg knows one sexual position and it's mummy on top. It's good to finally find where your line is. And it wasn't cancer. We don't have a Scottish equivalent of Rees-Mogg. I was thinking that the other day. I think the closest thing is maybe Michael Gove. To be fair to Michael Gove, he's an incredibly persuasive speaker, presumably from spending his childhood having to convince fishermen that he was human. I come from a very different background. When we grew up, our next door neighbour was a heroin addict. And when he died, the whole community went into mourning because we knew we were going to have to start paying full price for electrical goods. Most comedians you see on TV don't come from that kind of background. A lot of them went to public school, and they tend to deny their privilege as well. I was like, oh, I wasn't one of the really posh ones. I was so far down the pecking order at school, there were nights I had to write myself. If you're ever in a big group of people, you don't know who went to public school, who went to comprehensive, ask them, who was the most famous person who went to your school? Because if they went to comprehensive, the answer is always hilarious. Remember that guy that murdered his fiancée in an argument about a box of miniature heroes? Yeah, the wee bounty killer. That's him, yeah. He was at our school, deputy head of maths. I did an interview one time with Louis Theroux, and he was saying, what was the worst thing that happened at your school? And I didn't want to tell him, because it was that fucking bad. A wee guy at our secondary school got his head chopped off by his dad. His dad was a butcher, presumably made a pretty good job of it. Right? But it was only as I was telling him, I remembered for the first time in years the front of their shop had a massive sign, at the top it was his name, and underneath, family butcher. My son, he's a very kind, very thoughtful, very polite wee guy. We don't know how. He's got one flaw, this boy. He's got a uniquely penetrating voice. He's got a voice like a fucking bugle. And he loves football, so I take him to all the Scotland women's games at Hampden. Loves it. First time I took him, he was still pretty wee. If you've ever been to a women's football match, all the players have got their hair up. It's all kind of scrunched up in some fashion. He had a good look round him. Well, there's a lot of tight buns out there. We're going around London together one time. I was showing him all the statues, and I went, look, all these people are mass murderers. Because this was the British Empire, that's how you get your statue. You were a mass murderer. And he went, and the occasional explorer, because they helped find more people for us to kill. Britain's a racist country, man. Do you remember the government put adverts about knife crime inside boxes of fried chicken? That happened. I want to see Waitrose sushi boxes plastered with graphic warnings about inheritance tax fraud. I had two good pals in my life who were in the British Army. They both had the same attitude. That was like a fucking gun went off. I've literally felt that ripple my trousers. I went, actually, these two guys, they both worked in that mental health job. And they'd both been soldiers. And they both had the same attitude. They were both like, Britain, best fucking country in the world, Frank. Best fucking country in the world. And I thought, I don't know, man. If your main experience of visiting other countries is with the army, I'm not sure that you should be writing the fucking TripAdvisor review. I'll watch my best friend's legs boomerang around a poppy field. 2 stars. We just came back from a tour of Ireland a couple of months ago. Well, that joke went a lot better. My parents are Irish, they're from Donegal. They have those very mournful Donegal voices. My dad can make lyrics to zippity-doo-dah sound like a fucking cancer diagnosis. And we grew up with all Irish music. I love Irish music. There are genres of Irish music there isn't another song about in any other culture. There's a genre of Irish music. I hate this place. I'm leaving. And I'm going to America. That's a whole, complete genre. There's a separate genre. I'm in America, and I wish I hadn't come. And it was great touring in Ireland. You know, I think there'll be a united Ireland in my lifetime, which is an amazing thing to say. And when you go to Northern Ireland these days, you can feel that happening. You can feel it. I'm not saying good things haven't happened in Northern Ireland the last few years. They legalised abortion. I think that's a really good thing. Because it's difficult to say this, right? But it's hard to go to Northern Ireland without meeting someone who should have been aborted. I did that in Belfast a couple of months ago, and they were kind of forced to agree. He's right, Peter, it's you. I was like the north and the south of Ireland are kind of like two halves of one bipolar personality. Let's get the jolly old fiddle out and stick it through some cunt's head. Terrifies me a bit. Even just the number of places that begin with the word kill. I'm from kill a few more. It's just up the road from kill 'em all again. One thing I enjoy doing in English tours sometimes is just to keep talking about Ireland to an English audience until they get incredibly bored and annoyed. Because my English audiences, they're nice people. I always think my English crowds are like the most switched on people in whatever town it is. But you're still English. And English culture has a learned disinterest too. So you're not that interested in hearing about Ireland. You're not that interested in hearing about Scotland. You're not that interested in anything. Your empire is over and you wish you were dead. So I'm going to tell you this final wee story about Ireland, just because I think you'll like it and it's very short. Then I'll explain what's happening at the end of the show. But when we did that gig in Belfast a couple of months ago, that was the first time I'd been able to play there for 8 years, because the time before that was incredibly controversial. I got booked to do a festival of Irish culture, happens every year in Belfast. And then it turned out the gig was technically for Sinn Féin. And I was quite a controversial figure at the time. I don't know how closely you've followed my career. But when I was announced as being on at this thing, people went fucking insane. People started picketing in the streets. I thought, I'm going to do this gig anyway. I want to bring division to the normally united city of Belfast. Because there was all this stress about it, they sent two guys to meet us off the ferry, and they were serious looking guys. One of them looked like he was maybe a heavyweight boxer, something like that. I said to him, who are you? And he went, I'm here as an advisor. My support act at the time, he was a bit camp, jolly kind of guy. And I went, oh, what would you say if I said you seem like something a wee bit more than an advisor? He went, I'd advise you to shut the fuck up. So here's the thing, I always feel obliged to do a couple of jokes about the climate crisis, most important subject in the world. I know audiences don't love hearing about that. We all try and filter it out at some level, understand that. So what I propose is, I'll do some short banging jokes, we'll get the ball in the air, we'll do the climate change stuff like it's fucking medicine, you won't even notice that it's happened. Before you know it, we're on the home straight talking filth. Okay. Short banging jokes, let me think. My uncle always said, do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life. He did heroin. People say, don't they? People say that you only regret the things that you don't do. I don't know who said that first, but it's someone who's never broken 2 corkscrews trying to get an unlubricated parsnip out of their arse. I've always been a bit of a romantic at heart. In fact, that's how I got my nickname, the Valentine's Day Rapist. There's always a moment for everyone, isn't there? There's always a moment when you lose your childhood innocence. For me, I think it was the moment when I realised that Santa's sperm tasted exactly the same as my dad's. Okay, climate change, here we go. In Glasgow, it's difficult to work out who's protesting about the climate. Has someone glued themselves to the road, or were they just sniffing glue and fell over? King Charles spoke out recently about the environment. He said it's rare to hear such despair in young people's voices that aren't coming from his brother's bedroom. To be fair to the Royals, they've always done their bit to reduce emissions by never flying the jewels they own back to the countries they were stolen from. I got invited to the Royal Jubilee. This is true. Do you remember the Royal Jubilee? It was like a kind of soft launch of her death. They sent me a letter and said, we're having a parade at the Royal Jubilee of national treasures. Do you want to come? I've never been so overwhelmed with the feeling that my work has been misunderstood. There was a 10-mile queue to see the Queen lying in state. I accidentally joined the wrong queue, and at the end it was just a scouser who charged me a tenner to see a dead badger and a tiara. They took the coffin all the way from Westminster Abbey to Windsor, so people lined the route. There's people who wait maybe 6 hours just to see a car drive by. And then I interviewed the guy and I went, why are you here? And he went, just so I could say I did it. You could just say you did it. I did it as well. There you go, that's what he says. The same guy said, it's the Queen, isn't it? She's irreplaceable. Mate, she was Queen Elizabeth II. I never thought Charles was going to last long. I never did. After that coronation, I was thinking, it's hardly worth his while leaving the fucking cathedral. Those fingers never suggested longevity. His relationship with Camilla must be largely finger-based. Any cock would be a disappointment after those fingers. It must be cock first, finger second. The king is using his cock for foreplay. I really want to get that printed up on some merchandise. Prince Andrew wasn't allowed to wear his military uniform at the coronation. He had to wear a tracksuit and a fix-it badge. Andrew, the rapist formerly known as Prince. He fucked up so badly, he got fired from not having a job. Said he's retired from public life. It's not your public life we're worried about, pal. It's your private life. Keep him in public life. Keep him when we can fucking see him. Can't believe he's never apologised. I apologise after consensual sex. Imagine being Prince Andrew, you spend your whole life doing nothing. Nothing. And suddenly, your whole life is admin. Every day you're opening attachments from your lawyer, shitting yourself every time you see the words PDF file. At Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, Epstein's pilot gave evidence. He said, yeah, flew that plane for Epstein, flew a lot of famous people on the plane. I never saw anything untoward happening. That's because you were flying the plane. All you're saying is nobody got fucked on the nose of the plane. Nobody got raped on a cloud, not on my watch. There was originally a very grim, indeed indefensible joke at the end of that section which I dropped, but fuck it. I sometimes wonder if there's people involved in elite paedophilia who don't really want to be there. It's just kind of how the deals get done nowadays. A bit like the deals used to get done at the golf. Paedophilia. The new golf. A lot of tricky holes when you get to 18, it's all over. You can't really finish a joke like that, can you? People leave and go, well, they finished on an absolute blizzard of child sex material. which I enjoyed. I try and finish on a note of optimism. Oh, before I do that, it's a digression. What always got me about Jimmy Savile was the marathon running. The marathon running. Imagine you're a wee boy who's been kidnapped for an Illuminati sex party, and you escape and you run all night long. You run for 5 miles, 10 miles across some moor. As dawn breaks, you've run for 20 miles. You think, that's it, I'm safe. No, you're not. Jimmy Savile had a paedophilic range of 26 miles. Never trust the super rich, that's the lesson. Never trust anyone who owns a yacht. You ever been in a yacht? It's like being in a cheap hotel on fucking roller skates. The only reason anyone would want to own a yacht is so that they can abduct children, sail them into international waters, fuck them, and dispose of their bodies. And that's what everyone who owns a yacht is doing. Don't care who it is. J.K. Rowling. I have to say, for legal reasons, that J.K. Rowling is not fucking and killing children in international waters. To the best of my knowledge. That's what's happening. Sea levels aren't rising. It's just the weight of dead, fucked kids. The sea isn't even salty. Do you know that there are now hotels for the super rich that are so exclusive that when you phone down and ask for an extra pillow, that's actually a code word. It's actually a code word for a prostitute. Imagine that, you phone down, you ask for an extra pillow, and a prostitute turns up. Now you have 2 prostitutes. And only 1 pillow to smother them with. This is maybe not the note of optimism I was looking for. What can be optimistic about? Science! Science is always optimistic. Do you know that last year scientists managed to cure dementia in mice? Incredible news. Incredible news if you have dementia. Not such great news if you're a mouse. Because if you've been used in an experiment and will soon be thrown into a bin, the last thing that you want is clarity. They did an experiment in America in the 1970s called the Pit of Despair. The Pit of Despair was an experiment on monkeys. They'd take a monkey with a baby, they'd put them in a cage, they'd heat the floor of the cage. They found there was a temperature the floor of the cage would get to where the monkey would put its baby down and stand on it so that it could survive itself, which is horrendous. But let's not forget that without that experiment, we'd never have known what cunts monkeys are. I think that's as good a note to end on as any. I hope the handful of you that haven't died from bird flu or whatever the fuck is going around this place look back on this show fondly during the apocalypse that surely beckons. It's been a pleasure. Before we go, could we do a couple of things? Could we hear it one time for Christopher MacArthur Boy? Could we have a big round of applause for all the lovely hard-working staff at the venue? Thanks for looking after us, guys. We appreciate it. Take care of yourselves. All the best. Have a great week next week. Cheers.